Welcome back, class. Today we're going to be talking about represent and interpret data. So specifically, we're going to start with frequency tables and dot plots. This one says create a frequency table to represent the following data. So frequency table shows how often something occurs. In this case, we're talking about quiz scores. So first we need to see what quiz scores do we have. I'm going to list them up the top here off to the side from least to greatest. So I notice 10 is really big. 8, 7, 5, that's really small. That's probably going to be my first one. Let's see, 6. I have no 4s. So 5 is my smallest. So 5, I'm just going to put a dot here so I know I've used that. Let's see, we have 6. We have 7, 8, and I see a 9, and a 10. Do I have any 11s? No 11s. 10 is the highest that goes here. So these are my numbers. I'm going to list them least to greatest in my frequency table. So, draw myself a table here. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to have my score on the top, the quiz score on top, and I'm going to have my frequency on the bottom. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different numbers. So I need 6 different spaces here. Let's see. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is going to be for score 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to give myself tally marks for each time that I see that score appear. So I'm looking for 5s. I've got 1. I'm going to cross them off as I go. Just one person scored 5. Whoops. Sorry, we're going to do tallies. I was about to write a 1, but let's do tallies. All right, 6s. We have 1, 2, just 2. 7s, 1, 2, 2 7s. 8s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9s, 1, 2, 3, 3 9s, and then 10. 1, 2, 3. And that is my frequency table. It's just an easier way of organizing the information, so now I can answer this question. What was the most common score? The most common score, that means the one that appeared the most, which is the greatest frequency. In this case, I had 5 tallies for score 8, so the score that appeared the most was 8. All right, let's try one more. Create a dot plot. This time we're going to do a dot plot to represent the following data. Circle the most popular pizza type. All right, so we're going to start with our dot plot. So here we have our most popular types of pizza: cheese, sausage, cheese, cheese, pepperoni, cheese, sausage, pepperoni, pepperoni, cheese. So I see there's 3 different types here. There's cheese, pepperoni, and sausage. So when I make my dot plot, I need to focus on those 3. Dot plot is similar to a number line. We're going to have, or a bar graph. You guys have done these in 3rd grade. So my title here is most popular types of pizza. I use the same title from my data. I'm gonna have cheese, pepperoni, and sausage. Now I need to count how many I have for each, and I'm going to put that many dots above. So for cheese, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put 5 dots above cheese. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to count pepperoni. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to have 3 dots, and I'm going to try and make them even with these. 1, 2, 3. Now I have sausage. 1, 2. Again, trying to make them even with these dots as best that I can. 1, 2. Now the question said circle the most popular pizza type. So I can see here cheese was the most popular. So I'm going to circle cheese. Okay, let's look at another example. Create a frequency table to represent the following data. Circle the most occurring plant height. So this time we're going to do a frequency table, and we're going to circle the most occurring plant height. So we can do a table like we did on the last example. The top I can put my height of my plants, and the bottom I can put frequency. So I'm going to look at what different heights I have. Let's see, I see 4.5. I wonder if I have any just 4s. Yes, I do. 4. Do I have any 3s? No, so it looks like 4 is the smallest. I'm just going to list these up here. 4, then I have 4.5. So I've counted 4 and 4.5, 5. Do I have 5.5? Ooh, I see 4 and 3/4, so 5 can't come yet. Let's see, I've got 4.5, 4.5, 4 and 1/4. Ooh, 1/4 is even smaller than 1/2, so 4 and 1/4 is going to come before 4 and 1/2. So this, boys and girls, you're going to have to use your knowledge of fractions to think about what order they're going to go in. So 4 and 1/4 is smallest, so that will come next. Then I can do 4 and 1/2. Let's see. Then 4 and 3/4. Remember, 4 and 1/2 is equal to 4 and 2/4. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Then I can have 5. Let's see, we have 5.5, 5 and 3/4, 5 and 1/4. Okay, so next we're going to have 5 and 1/4, then 5.5, which is the same as 5 and 2/4, then 5 and 3/4. This is a lot. Next we have 6. And do we have 6 with a fraction? Yep, 6 and 1/4. And that's all I see, 6 and 1/4. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different heights that we need to put on here. So these are gonna have to be much smaller, these lines here. We're gonna have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I draw 9 lines in between here, and it divides it into 10 pieces. Now my heights I can list out. I'm going to change up the color here for you. I have 4, 4.5. Sorry. 4, 4 and 1/4, 4 and 1/2, 4 and 3/4, 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6, and then 6 1/4. Now I can tally up how many times I see these heights appear. So I'm going to count my 4s. And remember, this is just 4 by itself as a whole. 4, 1, I only have 1. Okay, now I'm going to count 4 1/4. 1, just 1. 4 1/2, 1, 2, 4 3/4, 1, 5, just 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that was a popular height. 5 1/4. Just 1. 5 1/2. I've got 1, 2, 5 3/4. I have 1, 6. Remember, just 6. I've got 1, and 6 1/4. I have 1. So this is my frequency table. Now I can answer the question. Circle the most occurring plant height. So I can clearly see here that 5 was the most occurring plant height. I'm going to circle that one. Okay, for this next part, we're going to create a dot plot to represent the following data. So weekly rainfall amounts in June and July in inches. So we need to take this data and put it on a dot plot. My titles, again, is going to be the same as the title here. I can call it June and July weekly rainfall. Now, we want to go least to greatest when we're using numbers. So we have 1 5/10, 2 5/10, 2 5/10, 1 5/10, 5/10, that's going to be the smallest that we've seen so far. 3, that's going to be the largest we've seen so far. 1 5/10, 5/10. So I can see 5/10 is the smallest here. Then, do I have a 1? I do not have just a 1, but I have a 1 5/10. Then I do not have just a 2, but I have a 2 5/10. I have just 3. And that's the largest. Okay, when we do our dot plot, we don't want to only list these numbers. We want to list the numbers that are skipped in between here as well. So I'm actually going to start at 0. Then I had 5/10. Next would be 1 whole. Then 1 5/10. So I've used 5/10 and 1 5/10 for my list here. Next would come 2, which I didn't have any, but that's okay. Next, 2 5/10, which came from my list. 3 would be next, which is on my list. And we can stop there because there was nothing greater than that. So from 0 to 3. Now, we're going to count how many we have and add the dots above. I'm going to switch colors so you can see this, hopefully a little easier. So I did not have any rainfall that was at 0. That means all of these weeks recorded at least a little bit of rainfall. But I did have 0.5 or 5/10. So I've got 2 weeks that had 5/10. So I'm going to put 2 dots above 5/10. All right, none of the weeks had only 1 inch of rainfall. So I'm going to move on to 1 5/10 inches. I've got 1, 2, 3 weeks. Again, I'm going to try and make my dots the same size and in line with the dots I put above 5/10. Next is 2 inches. I did not have 2 inches any week, so 2 and 5/10 inches. 1, 2, oops, 1, 2. And last but not least, we have 3 inches. We had 1 week with 3 inches. So this is my dot plot. Now I can answer the questions. What is the most occurring amount of rainfall? Most occurring. So that means the rainfall that happened the most. So I look at my dots here. 1 and 5/10 inches happened the most. What was the greatest amount of rainfall? So this is actually the amount of rain that fell. What was the greatest amount that occurred in all of this time? When we look here, this shows us our inches of rainfall. And the most here was 3 inches. What was the least amount of rainfall? So again, talking about how much rain fell, the least amount that fell was 5/10 inches. All right, hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.